Hello, my name is Jeff Rolka. Thank you for checking out my video. You will see that today I am joined by a not unsizable stack of texts. Whenever I think something, that's an interesting phrase, I will check my thoughts against what I find in these books, just to see what's going on when I have a question or when I'm musing about some vocal topic. These were not given to me. I purchased all of these. I have no, like the sponsors, that's the word I'm looking for. So we have some that are older, out of print, still very, very useful. In fact, these two books are quoted in this book. And this rather sizable tome is very, very recent indeed, the Oxford Handbook of Singing. It's quite a chunky little thing there. And it has lots of good information, more or less. I'm not going to really talk more about that. But was I surprised when I found that there are no entries on endurance? Not a single one. Not even in the index. Word doesn't even come up. Now, when I was asked to do my next series on endurance, my first thought was, well, endurance in singing is a function of a variety of other skills that we all practice that are all already in the vocalizations we do. For example, if you go through the agility series that I just finished, that's going to help with your endurance. In a lot of ways, endurance in singing is about the stitch in time parable. I think, is it a parable? No, it's that cliche. Aphorism? Aphorism. It's the stitch in time thing, where if you don't do the damage in the first place, then you don't have to fix anything. If you use your voice in a sustainable way, you won't have problems with your endurance. In other words, if you do what I'm already teaching on the channel, endurance will be a natural outcome. However, sometimes we don't necessarily practice things in the best possible way. And that then means that we're not going to get all the benefits that we could. And so, in looking at endurance, I'm going to show you and give you ways to evaluate your singing such that you can enhance the overall efficiency and overall endurance of your voice. And I am super excited because I think it's a really cool opportunity to talk about these things and to show you some exercises and ways that you can practice. So with all that being said, thank you if you've chosen to subscribe. Truly appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. The suggestion for endurance came from Patreon. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your support. And those of you who have joined me as a member here on YouTube, thank you for that. I truly appreciate your support. And I know that was a bit longer of an introduction than I might normally have done, but that will frame for you what we're about to do. I have a straw, and I'm going to use it. I think this is only the second time, the first time being in the short that just came out earlier this week. But it's finally time to deploy the straw. And I'm going to show you why. So let's get started. I'm going to do these exercises in keys that are easy for all of us to sing in. You can do these exercises with any of my videos. Just use a straw or one of the other methods that I'm going to show you in a second and listen for what we're going to talk about. But endurance in singing is about not getting overly fatigued. That, in our first way of looking at our voices here, is going to come in ways of airflow and phrasing. So let's begin with a simple 5-note scale, thinking of the E vowel. And it's going to be, let's do E flat. So we're going to do, or you may want to be there. And we're just going to sing E. try that with me. And one more time. Now, listen to A and listen to B. There's going to be a difference. Here's B. Hopefully you can hear that I broke my phrase when I knew I was getting to the high note. This is an incredibly common habit that many of us have. I had this habit for a very long time, and it's something that I still think about and practice when I'm working on my songs. If you have a phrase that's ascending and you know that there's a high note coming near the end of that phrase, it is very common for us to break that phrase. And the straw here makes it very, very easy to hear where that break occurs. This is one of the very useful aspects of the straw, if you ask me. So let's do this again, and let's make sure that we connect across the change of direction or across the high note of the phrase. And one more time. Now, I know that many folks will use straw phonation instead of the lip trill. And while that is useful, the lip trill has a very obvious way of showing us something about our airflow that I think is more challenging to observe with the straw. Now, if you can't do the lip trill, I'd encourage you to continue to practice and try to get it going. If you need to use the straw for this, then just listen really, really carefully during the phonation. Let's do that same scale with a lip trill. So, coming back here. And you, and. And I'll play it in two hands just so that everyone has it. And. Now listen again to A and B when I do it. Here's B. Again, you may have heard that pause right before the fifth scale degree, right before the high note. Even if we are thinking about connecting our vowels, we frequently will pause the flow of air when we are changing directions or getting to a high note and then coming back down, or vice versa. If you're going down to a note and then back up, you could equally do that as well. It is very beneficial for our singing to keep the airflow as consistent as possible. And so we want to make sure that we are singing through the turnaround, singing through the top of the phrase. Try it with me. And. And one more time. And. Now, you can do these practices in any of my videos. These scales, hardly unique to this video. Wherever you're singing a phrase like this, or if you're singing a song, you can look at the individual phrases, look at the vowels, look at where it's a natural break to take a breath, where you've been taking breaths, if there's any differences there, and then practice with either the lip trill or straw phonation in order to answer those questions. Am I keeping the phrase moving through the vowels? Am I keeping my air flowing through the phrase with my airflow? Are there breaks? Very frequently, the first time I ask someone to show me a scale with a lip trill, it sounds something like this. Trying to pulse on every one of those pitches. This is often why they can't do the lip trill consistently. This is also why they can struggle a lot with their singing. Our voices benefit from consistency in the flow of air. Now, if you haven't already thought this, let me throw this out there. This is also a reason to investigate apagio breath management. I'm not going to go deep down that path in the context of these videos focused on endurance, but suffice to say, if you don't already have an apagio breath management practice in play, that will greatly assist with these exercises. Now let's move on. Coming back to our friendly straw. In my first example, I only used a single vowel sound. Adding additional vowel sounds can also tempt us to break that phrase. We want to sing through the vowel change, even if at first it's a little bit glissy, a little, dare I say, a little sloppy in there. See, sloppy has some negative connotations, but in fact, that smooth transition will get more and more seamless as you practice it. So while it may be a bit longer or protracted right now, keep at it. The difference is, I think the straw will help us observe very easily. Here's E and A. One more time. Now here's A and B. Here's B. Again, notice that break. It is frequently our habit to put a break in the phrase when we are changing vowels. So instead of we're likely to get or even worse, where there's an additional there's a glottal attack on that A vowel. Again, the concept here, the practice is that our voices respond best to consistent airflow, consistency in the flow of air. When we are changing vowels, when we're ascending, descending, doing a big skip, any of those things, consistency in the flow of air is extremely helpful. And so we want to practice keeping the flow of air consistent. And again, the straw helps us observe if that's not the case. So let's do this again with the idea of singing through the vowel change and additionally through the change of direction, because we're doing the vowel change at the 5th scale degree. And again. And just the vowels, E and A. One more time. And let's do A and Ah. And again. And without the straw. And one more time. And and Let's do A and O. And again. One more time. And without the straw. And once more. And now you. And E and oo. Once again. Last time. Just the vowels. And once again. And on your own. And in all these instances, if, when we did the lip trill earlier, you had the habit of breaking the phrase at the 5th scale degree before the high note, if you like, or at the turnaround, all very similar ways of talking about it, that too will require some practice, and you'll have to rewrite your sort of neural pathways in order to be able to do that more habitually as a habit. But all of these exercises, using the straw, using the lip trill, are ways to evaluate how you are using your voice. You will gain more endurance in the more efficient use of your voice. Every time you break that phrase, you lose a little bit of air. You risk having a bit more vocal fold engagement. You risk a glottal attack if those are currently your habits. Practicing these scales in this way will help you to rewrite those pathways so that you get an overall more efficient use of your voice and consequently more endurance. All of these practices in the comfortable parts of our voices are challenging enough. When we start to get into the upper register of our voices or at the very, very low end of our voices, the challenges increase. And that is where we're going to look next. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope this helps. Thank you again if you have chosen to subscribe. A big thank you to my Patreon supporters, and thank you for the suggestion, Patreon folk. It was actually one individual in particular, but thank you for making the suggestion. I think this is going to be really, really fun. And again, those of you who are members here on YouTube, thank you for your support there as well. If you have aspects of endurance you want me to address in this series, leave it in the comments below. And until next time, thanks for watching, and take really good care of your voices. Enjoy singing, and hopefully we'll see you again. Bye.